Good afternoon. I want to welcome you to the Sweetwater County School District Number 1 public meeting on the alternative schedule for all in-town schools and Desert School Wamsutter, beginning with the 2021-2022 school year. So I call this meeting to order. First thing on the agenda is the presentation from Mrs. Bolton regarding the alternative schedule task force. Mrs. Bolton?
Good evening, Chair Jellicoe, Superintendent McGovern, and members of the board. Tonight, I'm here to present to you a proposal from the Alternative Schedule Task Force that was assembled earlier in this year and has worked through a process in order to come up with a schedule option to meet the goals that were set. First, I would like to go over that the Alternative Schedule Task Force was very well represented. Ms. McGovern and myself, we were facilitators of the committee, but we did not participate. We also had representing board members. We had Vice Chair Thompson and Clerk Max Mickelson. Neither of them participated either. They were present for the process, but they did not participate. We had directors representing each of the departments around the district. We had principals that represented the different classifications and levels of schools. So our K-12, our K-8 out at Wamsutter, our K-4s. We had representation from our Head Start. We had a number of classified staff representation. We had certified staff representation as well from all groups and all levels. We had 5 parents that were on the committee. We also had community and business representation. We had students. We had about approximately 48 members. We've heard from the teachers that they need time, and we know that over time, education has changed in how we provide it and what's expected. And from the needs that were expressed when this was brought up, these following goals were set by the Board of Trustees. Provide professional development opportunities while limiting teacher time out of the classroom. Provide blocks of uninterrupted collaboration time for all participants to attend and analyze data and plan instruction, which this in turn could increase planning time in the classroom as well, and to recruit and retain quality teachers, all of which leads to increasing student achievement. So the purpose of this is we know that with the demands of teaching, that the teachers need the time to collaborate. They need time to analyze data and plan to execute quality lessons. If we could provide a schedule for professional development to limit the amount of time that they're out of the classroom, we also know that when we have a qualified teacher in front of the kids in the classroom, it increases student achievement. And provide a schedule that entices teachers to apply and want to stay. So the higher candidate pool we get, the better chances of a quality candidate we have. And again, we know that when we have quality teachers in the classroom, it's going to increase student achievement. We know that high quality instruction and the ability to develop the strong relationships leads to increased student achievement. So what did this task force look at? This task force worked extremely hard. From the get-go, they actually started from scratch. They had looked at, some had looked at other schedules from other districts, but we did not preempt or provide any schedules. We did not bring anything forth or preconceived notions or ideas. This task force was also very clear of what their goal and directive was, and that was to look at different schedules that could align and meet those goals. Originally, there were 9 schedules that were up against, hung on the wall, all variations, shortening school days, lengthening the school year. There were so many options, and they narrowed that down to 3 because some of the options that came up, we couldn't do it. It would cut the hours too short at the secondary. This group worked 18 plus hours in creating, discussing, adjusting schedule options. We surveyed the community. There's also the chance for public feedback, and we also surveyed our staff. From there, based off of the data, the committee narrowed it down to one option. We know that our current schedule is maxed out. Adding additional time to our current schedule it's not possible across K-12. So why now? This committee was tasked with this now because if we're looking at any kind of change in education is difficult, and anytime a district is making a change, we know that the community, parents, and students all need time to adjust. So the idea was that the task force would get together now and look at the various scheduling options, and no matter what was brought forth, if that's the direction that the board decided to go, then that would give us an entire year to partner with our community, to partner with our teachers, to partner with our students and our parents, and detail out based off of the needs of the community. So the acceptable avenues of feedback were the staff survey that went out, the public survey, the public comment. Feedback that was not taken into consideration were the social media comments. And the reason that is, it's impossible to track it. You don't have access to all the pages that it was shared. It's easy to lose track of who said what or who wants this. And 400 comments could be a couple people going back and forth for 300 of the comments. It's too hard to track and give equitable credit to the people that are giving the feedback. So the purpose of the staff survey, we took before this went to survey, the task force actually had 3 completely separate options. But when the task force went and put it against the rubric and aligned it based off of scores, they ended up dropping off one of the options that the committee just didn't feel fully met and aligned with the goals. And so there were 2, option 1 and option 2 were similar, but the difference was more for the staff in how days could be utilized for the professional development and options. So the staff took the 3 options, and with each option, they were to assess the alignment of the option with the goals. We wanted to survey if the goals set did affect the quality of instruction and increase student achievement. Way the survey was set up, it kept the focus on the options and the alignment of the goals to see if these were viable. It kept the focus away from the details that are slated to be worked out next year as directed. The current schedule was not an option on the survey because that's up to the board to discuss that. The point to this committee was to look at alternative scheduling options, so we wanted feedback based off of those alternative schedules. So the effect on quality of instruction, you can see that there across the board are goals with recruiting and retaining high quality teachers, quality professional development, keeping the teacher in the classroom, uninterrupted collaboration time, and analyzing planning, quality instruction. All of these, the teachers said most said that it had a direct positive effect. There were some that on quality professional development said that it had an indirect positive effect and some neutral. The direct negative effect and indirect negative effect was extremely low. So they felt that those goals had an effect on the quality of instruction. We also looked at if those goals had an effect on student achievement, and the staff related those goals, as you can see, having a pretty high direct positive effect on student achievement. The quality professional development, you can see that there is slightly less direct positive effect and more indirect positive effect, and the same with uninterrupted collaboration time, whether that is impacting it directly or not. Again, the neutral and the direct negative effect or indirect negative effect were low. So the purpose of the public survey was to present the options to the community and gather feedback with the options, knowing there was a year to plan and prepare. So would they be okay with the option or not if there was a year to plan and prepare? So option 1 was the district students would go 4 days a week. In addition to the student days, district staff would attend 1 designated student day off, 2 half days on the designated student day off for collaboration, professional development, and or planning each month. The staff were asked if that option did or did not align with the goals, or if they had a direct positive alignment all the way to if they had a direct negative alignment. And as you can see from the staff results, for option 1, the direct positive alignment, indirect positive alignment, and neutral alignment really are the ones that got the bulk of the vote. The indirect negative alignment or direct negative alignment, again, the numbers were much smaller. The public survey, there were 3 out of 737, 321 said yes, that they would be fine with option 1 with a year to plan and prepare. 130 were neutral. They didn't have opinion one way or the other. And 286 said they were not okay with it. So option 2, again, the students would go 4 days a week, but in this instance, in addition to the student days, the district staff would work 2 full days of the designated days off instead of 1 full day and 2 half days. Again, the staff were asked to align that option with our goals. You can see that this one had a little higher numbers when it came to the direct positive alignment, and then neutral alignment. Again, the indirect negative alignment and direct negative alignment were low. So far for option 1 and 2, for the most part, they felt that they had positive alignment. For the public survey for option 2, 371 said that they would be fine with that option with a year of planning and preparing. 129 were neutral, and 237 said no. Option 3, where district students would attend 5 days a week. However, on whatever day is designated as the designated day, elementary students would be dismissed from school 2 hours early, and secondary students would arrive to school 2 hours later. This would enable staff to have the 2 hours either in the morning or the afternoon for the professional development, release time for collaboration and planning. The staff survey results felt that this option more so had a neutral alignment to the goals, not necessarily the direct positive alignment was lower. For the public results, 254 said they would be fine with this option if they had a year to plan. 136 were neutral, and 347 said no, they did not like this option. So then in the survey, we did ask the staff to rank the surveys by choice. I can tell you if they didn't like any of them, they didn't rank them 1. They put 3s for all of them. But so if we look at if they ranked on choice number 1, option 2 was ranked the highest as their first choice with 233 votes, and it had 129 as their second choice. You can see option 2 for first and second choice was the second preferred, and option 3 was clearly the third. The purple is much bigger on that one as the third choice. The public, we had them rank it after they said if they would be okay or not. And again, if they didn't want any of them, they put 3s on them too. They didn't have to put a 1. And you can see option 2 did have the most for first and second choice. Option 1 had the second highest amount for first and second choice, and option 3 was by far the highest for third choice. Approximately 40% of the staff participated in the district. We had a person actually help build our surveys who has a degree and expertise in survey development. And when we figured out we had about a 40% staff participation rate, she said that that was actually a very high response, that surveyors get excited if you can get 25%. For the public survey, we were able to get 737 public responses, and that is with the duplicate emails taken out. The data showed a strong direct effect on the quality of instruction with our goals, and the data showed a strong direct effect on student achievement with the goals that were set. The data showed that the strongest alignment to our goals is with option 2, according to the staff survey, and add all data from the staff survey and the public survey, and even tally in public comment. Option 2 is the preferred schedule by the staff and the public. So the committee proposal is option 2, based off of the data, that students attend 4 days a week and staff attend a full day every other designated day off for professional development, collaboration, and planning. Knowing that there would be a year to work out all of the details and work with our community. If this option was the option to go through, the individual, I'm going to avoid using names because I think that some of us have been slandered enough and I don't want to put them on the hot spot, but this individual said that they would step up and absolutely help us with the next step of needs assessments within the community for our parents and the businesses, so that we are very data driven for our committees to be able to work and find solutions. And that concludes the presentation. Are there any questions from the board members?
Any questions from the trustees?
I do have one, Nicole. Let me look at my notes here real quick.
Mrs. Thompson?
Yeah, so my question is, on the last side, it says for the 2021 and 2022 school year, don't we do 2 calendar years at a time? So wouldn't it be also the 2022 and 2023?
So that is such a good question. And thank you for asking that so that I can clarify. Actually, we voted calendars in last year for 2 years. So next year, our calendar is already set. We would only put forth 1 year right now to get permission from the state to look at this option, because if this option's what went through, that is what would guide the calendar committee next year as they develop the calendars for the next 2 years. And we would resubmit to the state. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. My other question was on, we saw how many public comments, sorry, I'm trying to flip between screens here, that there were 737 public surveys collected. To me, how is that in relation to the amount of comments that we received last year? Is it about the same? Is it more? Is it less? To me, it seems, I guess I'm asking because you guys have the data.
What did I do with my... Thank you. And I know that there were, and you guys will hear it, there were concerns that came forth about the COVID-19 crisis and how this was poor timing, so this should be scrapped. So naturally, it makes you look at the data to see maybe it is bad. But what we're finding is that now last year was a 4-day week committee, and I understand what the option is coming forth, but that's not what this committee was. But last year we ran an extensive process for, and specifically just the 4-day with all of the details. And so I looked at when there wasn't a crisis going on and we were able to offer in-person public comment. We had 7 different opportunities for public forums for people to come and get information and interact with us. And out of those 7 public forums, we had 72 participate, many which were the same people attending, and we'd get a few new each time. By far, the last one was the highest attended. We had 3 different opportunities for in-person public comment. So let me go back. So our in-person public forums had 72 participants. This time, with all the restrictions in place, Kelly and I did a YouTube presentation that we would have done at public forums. We had 2.1 thousand views. We offered 3 different opportunities for in-person public comment last year. In January 2019, nobody spoke to it. In March 2019, I took the teachers out. I was going off of our community. We had 1 student and 4 community members that gave public comment. 3 were in favor, 2 were not. In April of 2019, we had 2 students and 12 parents that spoke and gave public comment, and that was the night that this was voted on. We had 8 in favor and 6 were not. In addition to that, we did have 10 teachers that spoke at that one. So out of the 3 opportunities for public comment, a total of 19 people spoke. And many of the same people spoke in April that spoke again in March. Last year, we also sent out a link for public comment, not for the board meeting, but to just open, let's get feedback. And we had 74 total responses. 61 of the responses were in favor and 8 of them were not. The other responses were questions or they wanted a 4.5 days. We did not survey the community last year. It is really hard with IP addresses and with duplicate email addresses to control a public survey. But with the response of 737, even if some did use a 2nd or 3rd email address, that's a pretty high response to a survey. And then for the public comment section this time, we had 110 people submit comments for public comment. And whether it's in person or it's online, we don't banter back or forth or have conversation. They're able to give comment and then the board is able to ask us questions. And so that format actually doesn't change. So we actually got far more participation in public comment, significantly more than we did all of last year. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions from the trustees?
I have a question.
Mr. Hay?
Nicole, we had 40% of the teachers responded this time. Was the figure last time about 80%?
Okay, so last time we had, when the survey went out to the teachers, so we have a little under 1,000 total staff and about half of them are teachers, and we had 400 and something teachers respond last year. So we did have, out of the amount that voted, we had 87% of our certified teachers that actually voted last year. This year, we had 40% of our total staff. And although I had it broke down by grade level, I didn't ask if it was certified or if it was classified. But I can tell you if I was able to, and I'm not able to see who was certified that voted and who was classified, I can tell you that the certified number would be way up there because we have a hard time getting a significant number of our classified staff to vote and log in and vote. So out of the 40% total, honestly, if I had to guess, I would say at least a minimum of 70% of our certified staff voted. Because we have 437 teachers and we had 401 votes come in. So I can almost guarantee that most of that was certified. And when I talked to the transportation and those directors, they agreed that they don't think that their staff got on and voted the classified side. So we did have a high turnout for certified last time. And my guess is that it would be a high amount this time, but I didn't ask and I should have on the survey, but I didn't.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the trustees?
I do have one. Go for it.
I'm sorry. Mr. Batolo?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Batolo?
Ms. Walton, was there any conversation at all about just changing the start time of the day?
A lot of folks are asking me questions about that research that says that especially older kids do better with a later start time. Was that something that came up, or was that? Tell me about that. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. That was actually a big conversation, but what the task force decided was that although, yes, that does, I don't think anyone would disagree. There is a lot of research out there that shows that a later start time for secondary students assists in increasing student achievement. And the committee did look at that, but that didn't necessarily meet or align with the goals that were set. And so what the committee talked about is depending what scheduling option went forward, whether it was an early or late start or whatever, that those are the details that the calendar committee would actually take up again next year, because we do know the research that backs that. Mr. Batolo, the other piece that was heavily discussed were the concerns that would come with any change in a schedule. And those were weighed very heavy with the committee in conversation as they were going through each of the options as well, with the knowledge of, is this something that we truly could work together and problem solve through and find solutions, such as we know daycare, such as we know that kiddos need to be fed, those kind of concerns that are pretty consistent and very valid.
Thank you for that, and I really appreciate the hard work and also the fact that there's a buffer year to be able to answer those questions. That makes a tremendous difference to me. Thank you for that.
Mr. Jackman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hey, Nicole, on your first slide, you stated that our current schedule is maxed out. Why is that?
So when our current schedule was maxed out, when we were looking at K-12, trying to give the uninterrupted collaboration time, the junior high has made adjustments already in their schedule, and there's been good changes with it. The schedules shouldn't have to change. Obviously, during the day, at times might need to be adjusted. The high school did go to a block schedule that they were building around what was going on last year as well, to build in more collaboration time and PLC time. The elementary, we've taken it back down to a 6-day rotation. There is a huge inequity among the elementary and the secondary with the planning time that the teachers get and the collaboration time. But one of the things that we're struggling with the PLC, even though we have some good practices in place, and the secondary schedules have come so far in being able to provide more opportunities with that, we are still struggling just with the day-to-day operations of getting our principals in there consistently. And functioning PLCs, we have professionals and the teachers are great, but the principals also need to be in there. But also with IEP meetings and different things that are pulling staff, there's inconsistency in who's attending. And so looking at how we could take that outside, the problem herein lies the amount of secondary hours that we have to offer. It becomes very tight with the high school, even if you were shortening days. Shortening days, for elementary could have provided some options, and then secondary, if we had a later start, say we weren't hitting the amount of hours that they were needing. And the other thing is they said it wasn't helping them out in the professional development, which our teachers, we have needs within the district that they're being pulled for the curriculum mapping and those things that are essential to keep the classroom functioning. And we can keep, I guess we couldn't limit the amount of time that the teachers were out of the classroom on some of those other options. So honestly, to build in, we're lucky if we can get the 100 minutes of collaboration every 6-day rotation for the elementary. There's no physical way to build in more. Our special ed, sometimes they can attend, sometimes they can't, and they have to go outside contract hours in order to meet as a PLC. And so right now, how it's built too, they give up their scheduled planning time for PLC time, which PLC time is still considered planning. Don't get me wrong. And that they do talk about they need time for the grading of the papers, the planning, and things like that. And so that really was the conversation that encompassed the task force. That was a good question. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole.
Trustees, any other questions? I have one.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
You're good.
I'll wait till last. Was there any discussion about the possibility of elementary and secondary being on different schedules?
Yes, we did talk about that. We talked about the elementary and the secondary being on different schedules. And we have data from the past of, that is one of the major concerns that come from the community, is that if our elementary kiddos are getting out earlier than our secondary kiddos, that was the number one concern, even with the 4-day last year, even though they were the same time or they were off. So even looking at this schedule, we could look at differentiating times among the elementary and the secondary, but it was discussed. It helps the elementary much more. And we really weren't able to pull it off at the secondary level because of the hours, unless we wanted to extend the school year. So for them, there's just a huge inequity, and it's hard to balance, but that was discussed at length with this committee as well, trying to find that balance just within our current schedule of the adjustments that we could make.
Thank you. Trustees, any other questions? Okay, well, thank you for the presentation.
Absolutely.
We're going to proceed with reading the public comments that we have received. They are numerous. So at some point I may ask Mr. Jackman to assist me. So I'm just going to read through these as they appear on the sheets. From Ashley Smith, who is a parent, I agree with option 2. Christina Springer, also a parent. I am in favor of a 4-day week. Whichever schedule works best for the teachers works for us. Kayla Laughter, parent. I feel that a 4-day week would be a great idea. I think the one with the teachers working every other day off is the ticket. Also, I feel the late start, early release is a bad idea. It will be difficult for parents and childcare centers to maintain these odd hours. Now, maybe if they all did a late start or all did an early release at the same time. Too many people rely on older children to watch younger children, and not having similar schedules could be a problem for them. Jason Tomich, a parent. I am in favor of the 4-day school week. Tracy Hager, also a parent. Very much in favor of a switch to the 4-day school week. Thank you, Sweetwater County School District Number 1, for all of the hard work and effort put into this study and presentation. Frankie Valsic, parent and student. I like to see our school board continue with the current schedule that we have existing. I know change can be a thing, but I don't believe enough evidence is out there or has been presented to show how a 4-day week improves or benefits student learning. In my opinion, with all that has gone on with COVID-19, our students have spent enough time away from school. We shouldn't even be thinking of a different schedule until they actually go back. Thank you. Martha Tabolt, a parent. I feel this will negatively impact students needing additional help or the continuity of instruction. I also believe that this will negatively impact on community organizations and will be interested in how the attendance hours are addressed. I feel this is not for the purposes presented, but an existing agenda to shorten work weeks and promote 3-day weekends for workers. I also feel that there should be accountability in place, as there is a large discrepancy between option needing 1 workday a month in planning time versus the option of 2 days out of a potential 4 through the other options. To me, this says we are using more time that is unnecessary at the expense of some students who may need the time being taken away, or that was stated for them in the last presentation vote a year ago. Travis Garcia, a parent. First off, I can't believe you people are pushing this again after it's already been shut down 2 other times, especially at a time like this when no one is able to gather and have a meeting. It's almost like you planned it this way, so most of the people won't speak their opinion because they are unaware of this survey you are sending out and unable to go to a board meeting because of these restrictions. Most people have a lot of other things going on in their lives right now other than worrying about another ridiculous alternative schedule, and it almost looks like that's what you are banking on to get this passed. I am really disappointed in this staff being so underhanded like this. The logical and novel thing to do is postpone this until next year when things may calm down and folks can use proper decision making to decide if this is what is best for our school district. But I guess it's like most things there in the school staff of it makes sense, don't do it. Tammy Parker, staff. Hi, I am the junior high swim coach for both the boys and girls. Our seasons overlap with each other for about 2 to 3 weeks. How will swim practice work since we are now going an hour longer with this schedule? Would practices during these times be just pushed back an hour? Would SWAT, SWAT, the club team just not practice during this time since the varsity would have to go to 7? Would we practice at the college? Or my biggest concern, will there no longer be a junior high swim team? This year, 2019-2020, I had 30 boys and 55 girls join the swim teams. We had very successful seasons. Not having a swim team would affect about 10 to 13% of the junior high student population. I am hoping this is not the case since swimming is a life skill that, in my opinion, is a necessity for life. If someone could let me know how this would work, I would appreciate, since I will have parents asking me. Thank you for your time. William Parker, parent. I am against the 4-day schedule. Parents have to work 5 days a week. By not having school 5 days a week, you are putting a financial burden on parents who now have to find daycare for young children for that one day. It will also impact sports. Trying to get ready, especially for swimming, with only 4 days will affect the kids' ability to get practice time in, as we only have one pool and several schools and groups trying to share it. Leave the school hours alone. This is the best thing you can do. Don't fix what isn't broken. Larissa Apel, staff member. As a secondary teacher, I do not think the 4-day week is a good move. The reality is, 1, sports will not only be on Fridays, so students will miss even more school, as well as teachers who are coaches will miss all the important meetings. 2, you cannot shove all meetings, PLCs, IEPs, professional development, etc., in the same time. Inevitably, key players will miss meetings to be in other meetings at the same time, which leaves the collaboration ineffective. 3, extending the school day even further to accommodate the hours will not be suitable for many students who struggle with attendance already. 4, advertising it as a 4-day week to get and retain teachers is false narrative because still working on Fridays does not make it a 4-day week. From the beginning, this has felt like a push from the elementary grades, and while it may work for them, I do not think this is in the best interest of the secondary level, as was pointed out many times last year. Does it have to be one size fits all? Want to go ahead and go from
Sure
there?
thing. Oh, yep. All right. Carrie Garcia, parent. All I can say is, wow, you guys literally waited only a matter of days to start this up again after everything that happened last year. This was voted down twice in a row. The majority of secondary teachers refused to even answer, and 40% is not very many regardless of what you say. I wonder why. Maybe fear of retaliation? Last year, you could vote in April and implement in August, but now all of a sudden we have to get this done now, during the worst times people have lived through in this generation. This is the lowest, most underhanded stuff I have ever seen. It should be tabled indefinitely until people can get back on their feet. Most don't know if they will even have a job or where they will live, let alone worry about this stuff right now. Maybe consistency would be the compassionate thing to do, though it seems that doesn't happen in Sweetwater 1 any longer. It doesn't matter anymore to my family or my children, but you have taught them one thing for sure. Complain long enough and throw a big enough fit, and you will get your way eventually, even if it's against the majority. People have passionately told you, people repeatedly, what they want, and you will not listen. Go ahead and let the elementary have their way, and just remember the high school is where kids need to graduate and their opinions matter too. You had quality staff and they are flaying for a reason, and it's not because of a 4-day week. They do not want to work here because of this backstabbing right here. Rock Springs and this cab has a reputation that people do not want to associate with. What a joke. Jennifer Matthews, a parent. I am working full-time. I am a full-time working mom with a over full-time working husband. If the school district goes to a 4-day school week, I am concerned that my children, who will be in kindergarten, 7th, and 8th grades for the 21-22 school year, who are rambunctious boys that need enrichment on Fridays, when you are proposing to have no school on these days. My main concern is that I will have to resign from my position at my place of employment, which will cause our family to lose one full-time income. How are you proposing that my family deals with that lost income? I will not be placing my children in the care of another person. If I put them in a daycare facility, they will only accept my kindergartner due to their ages. I do not believe or want to split up I or any family. I also do not believe that it is fair to one child to send them away from their siblings while the others are able to stay home. I am very disappointed in the school system to think that a longer day is a substitute to missing a day. You should be ashamed of yourselves. What about the children who are on IEPs or have special needs? How do you propose to meet all of their educational needs and the amount of time per IEP need, such as they receive 30 minutes per day, 5 days a week, and they have a hard time with that amount of time, which is being too long? What is your proposal on that issue? I feel that Sweetwater District 1 is already failing the children of Sweetwater County, but now they are truly going to fail all of our children. Amy Kenyon. I am a parent of 3 students, a staff member as a substitute teacher, and a future teacher as of December 2020. Before I began my schooling to become a teacher, I only had a parent's perspective. I did not think that the 4-day school week would be beneficial only because I had knowledge about the benefits it would give to the teachers, students, and community. I thought my child would receive less time in school and it would impact him negatively. Now, as a current staff member and a future teacher, I have learned as well as experienced the benefits that it would bring. I have had to write many papers in school about the pros and cons of a 4-day, and the pros far outweigh the cons. The teachers would receive training outside of the students' school hours, pro. The teacher would use their planning time for just that, planning instead of training, pro. PLC could take place on the 5th day instead of during the teacher's planning time. This will allow the teachers more time to collaborate with their team, as well as use their planning time to be better prepared for lessons and units during the week, pro. The students would have their teacher in the classroom instead of substitute teachers that have to fill in as it is now for training, pro. The list goes on and on. It is clear as day what the choices should be. We must move to a 4-day school week to ensure that our students are receiving the best, most high-quality teachers and education from additional training time and prep. This in turn will lead to better retention of quality teachers as well. The extra day for students would allow them to have extra one-on-one time if needed, when after or extra school hour programs would be available. They will also be able to use the extra day for catch-up or makeup work. For these reasons, I am for a 4-day school week to be implemented in our district. Thank you for your time, Amy Kenyon. Amy Crowell, a parent. Why can't we be informed on exactly what day the students would be out of school in the 4-day options 1 and 2? I would be able to vote for either one of those options if it would be known to the public. My vote is for the regular 5-day until then. Brandon Pacheco, a parent. I vote for option 1 in the school's schedule debate. A big no on 4 days a week. Crystal Peterson, a parent. I am concerned about the longer school days for option 1 and 2. Students that are in sports are already getting home too late, in my opinion. If we add an hour or more to each school day, then practice starts later. They won't get home until closer to 10 p.m. or even later. Then they still have homework and assignments. Studies prove these kids need more sleep, not less. Second, I don't understand why half the students will go in later and the other half will get out earlier on the 5-day plan. I will have a child in elementary school and 1 in junior high at this time. So how am I supposed to juggle that? At least have them all get out early or go in later. This whole plan doesn't seem to have anything to do with what is best for our children, their education, their time, or the families this will affect. This is clearly to benefit the staff. I love the teachers. I have a very high respect for teachers, but this isn't about them. The students should always come first. I think this whole thing was done at a very inappropriate time. People are worried about their health when we literally can't come to a meeting or have an open discussion. And lastly, how are we expected to vote on this without all the details? What time will school start? Get out. When will the school year end or start? You all have to make up for those Fridays somehow. Would you vote on your child's day-to-day life, their schedule, their education without all the details? I bet not, but you want us to? Signed, a very concerned single mom and taxpayer. Lila Pacheco, a parent. The schedule is ridiculous and is going to put the parents under further financial strain. Want to go back for Josh Pacheco. Okay, right there. Yeah.
Okay, Josh Pacheco, a parent of 2 students. My wife and I strongly disagree with the board wanting to change to a 4-day school week. It doesn't work with work schedules and would require many people find childcare services for 1 day a week. This would financially be hard for many families. Jason Christinelli, parent. I find it absurd that no true study was complete showing measurable, attainable, realistic benefits of a schedule change over the course of a year. But yet we are told to pick the best of 2 choices. Let's be honest, 2 are exactly the same for the majority of stakeholders. We will have change no matter what. 2 board members helped on the task force, which tells me that a change will be approved. This is wrong. I also question the feedback. I could have used multiple email addresses to answer, skewing the results more favorably. The results are surprising with no new information. Somehow residents are all 4 days all of a sudden. The graphs were horribly built with our CAD needs to learn what the X and Y axis is utilized for. They're bad to the point they are almost unreadable. The presentation lacked any substance in demographics, educational outcomes, fiscal changes, what teachers truly will be doing. Planning and collaboration is pretty much the same thing. Why did only 40% of the staff respond? The administration tells us that's good. No, it's not. Everybody is working online right now. I would call that a lack of respect and support for this leadership. The public comment is also minimal, and social media, which drives current culture, still shows an overwhelming discontent with these options. What are other ways to recruit and retain quality teachers? Because apparently it's only a 4-day school week. Funny how this isn't happening across the nation. Then what we do, excuse me, then what do we do when all schools do figure or how this is and have 4-day weeks? Why don't we get leadership that is trusted and qualified? I'd like to see how Mrs. Bolton is qualified to be HR for an organization the size of Sweetwater County School District number 1. What about STEM classes? What about ESL? What about hiring teachers first, not coaches that happen to be a teacher? Why not increase the requirement that you had to major in what you teach? Hire teachers over the median praxis scores, and that scored higher than the median on the ACT. UW turns out more teachers each year than the state needs to fill positions. Shouldn't be hard to find people. It's proven that if your organization recruits the best, you become the best, and more people want to work for you. Why aren't exit interviews conducted to find out why teachers are leaving? Where is that meaningful data? I'm going to assume that administration leadership doesn't want that black eye. They'd rather run off great teachers that disagree with them. Why can't school district number 1 do an intensive hiring process similar to what school district number 2 just did to bring in a superintendent with knowledge on how to turn around low performing districts? This superintendent and HR have one thing they want and don't show us how it helps. I might actually have been on for a change from the current schedule, but not without analysis, data, and proven studied metrics. On top of that, it is just being pushed on us during a time of dishevel in our nation when we can't attend board meetings. Must just be good timing for those who want a change without doing the work to show why we need it and how other methods could prove fruitful. Most board members in this community do it to look important. I hope I'm proven wrong and more is demanded to show objectives that increase educational outcomes prior to any vote.
Teresa Beardsley, parent, yes, exclamation point. 4-day week would be amazing.
It's going to take
Julie Porter, association with Sweetwater County School District number 1, option 2. Carla Nelson, a parent. I am in favor of maintaining the 5-day school schedule, but for different reasons than most, I'm sure. I am so tired of summers being shortened. We already lost 2 weeks a couple of years ago, and now you're talking about the kids losing 1 to 2 more weeks. In this community, most in this community do not work normal Monday to Friday jobs and can't just take off to the lake every weekend. With a 2-on 1 off, my husband maybe has 3 to 4 weekends off during the entire summer where he can plan trips or vacation. The kids look forward to summer all school year. Typically, Rock Springs becomes a ghost town on weekends during the summer. Don't take any more away time from the kids. Let them be kids and enjoy life before they are unleashed into the rat race we call life. Be human about this. Otherwise, though, I'm all for a 4-day school week, if you can figure out how to leave summer alone. Maybe remove spring break. We didn't have it until 2 years ago anyways. I will be forced to look at alternatives to my children's education, and we are forced to lose more of our summers. Marcia Davidson, a parent. Yes, 4 days. Chris Davidson, a parent. Yes. Irvin Bowling, or Chris Davidson, yes, 4 days. Irvin Bowling, parent. 5-day school weeks for the children. Too many households with both parents working. Children have 1 day a week to themselves is never good. Some of the children's only meal are that one at school. Too much risk. Danielle Henderson, a parent. Leave it at a 5-day school week. It worked when I was a kid, so why change it now? There are other things we need to fix in the school system. Lindsay Harmon, a parent. I am a mother of 5 kids in the 4 different school levels in this district. Thank you for putting forth a 4-day schedule again. I would love to see it pass. Eric Varnish, a parent. This is round 2 of this gameplay. Option 1 is school 5 days a week. Option 2 is replacing the school board. Candy Pendleton, associated with community members. Option 2. Ashley Engel, a parent. Yes on the 4-day school week. Randy Rosenbach, grandparent. Sure, do this with COVID-19 restrictions in place so we can't public input in person. Another attempt at railroad decisions. In my opinion, you could have this discussion at a later date when public can attend in person after COVID-19 has been given all clear to return to normal. I would love for a school board member to contact me to hear my concerns. Randy Rosenbach, phone number. Anna Copeland, community. My concern is that dentists and some doctors are closed on Fridays. If the school day goes until 5, when can staff go to see their doctor, dentist, physical therapist, chiropractor, etc.? Sure, they have sick days, but maybe saving them for a serious illness or upcoming procedure or an emergency. Tina Ulrich, a parent. Option 2, I think would be great. Trudy Morey, a parent. Last year, the 4-day school week raised the level of emotions in the community to an extreme extent. As an example, following the school board vote, I witnessed a group of teachers who, when they were exited the meeting room, spotted a parent who had the courage to stand up and speak her opinion. While she was speaking, she mentioned her place of employment. This group of teachers told her they were each going to contact her employer in the morning and get her fired. She immediately began crying and felt like her comments may have just jeopardized her job. I was horrified to witness this exchange. To raise this debate during the current pandemic situation and the restrictions regarding gatherings and therefore the communication regarding the concerns and comments of the community before being limited, I feel like this topic of a transition to a 4-day school week has poor timing. The community feedback form for the alternate schedules provided no option for comments from the community, which provided simplified results for consideration, but for a topic that was so emotionally debated a year ago, it is far from deserving of a simple consideration. Demonstrated by the starting of this process early to provide for transition time in the community without knowing how this pandemic is going to ultimately affect the community over the next year and how we are going to get our economy back on track over the next year. I feel it is too much to ask us to also accept what will be a significant transition to a 4-day school week as well. Personally, I am a single mom raising my daughter on my own. No support or other parental figure in the picture at all. Prior to this pandemic, I felt confident in providing for us, and I am still working and balancing homeschooling. However, I received a letter along with my paycheck, which let me know this was one of our 4 checks I can expect due to the CARES Act, and beyond that point, our future is unknown. I am certainly not the worst off, but I am not alone with worries far more important than a 4-day school week debate. The community's focus and level of emotions do not need to be on this subject, and I feel it is absolutely not an appropriate time. We are in a time which we need to be united, and those who have a job in a year from now are not going to be in a situation in which they are able to negotiate for accommodations due to proposed changes. Please let this issue drop and work towards goals and changes which can be made within the structure currently in place. Kindest regards, Trudy.
Kenadi Fruler, community member. I am for the 4-day week. I think it will be beneficial to the students and teachers. Melissa Anderson, parent, option 2. Erica Fensky, staff. I am in favor of the 4-day week from an instruction standpoint, and I know parents dislike having 1 day less of school for a number of reasons. The major problem I have come across is that teachers are lifelong learners, and we go to trainings during the year to hone our skills, try new things, and improve our instruction. Some teachers are pulled out of their classrooms multiple times a month, myself included, which impacts instruction. Learning and behavior is not the same for a substitute period. There needs to be a way to let teachers have professional development during the school year without missing classroom time. I have seen parents comment to make our trainings during the summer. We are not contracted nor paid during the summer, and many teachers have second jobs during that time, so this is not a great option. It is beneficial to have training during the school year so we can apply the things we learn to our instruction immediately. Sandy Rosenbach, grandparent. Need to express opinions in a public forum, not during a time of quarantine where other issues and concerns are more important. There wasn't an option for leave school as a 5-day attendance week. Angela Lebo, parent. I don't agree with a 4-day. I work full-time and having to find childcare is hard enough, and to move to a 4-day would be harder for parents who work all week and need to find alternative childcare for an extra day off. Kim Beck, community member. 5 days a week, parents will have a hard time finding care for their younger children. There aren't enough daycares in town to take in as many kids that need care. Having older children at home in a weekday may pose problems with no parental guidance. You may think Hook isn't daycare when actually to a point it is, like it or not. Darcy Punches, School District Number 1 staff. I think the committee did a good job communicating the why behind a shift in our current schedule and calendar. However, implementing a change like a 4-day school week has huge impacts on so many in both the school system and the community. There would be so many different planning needs for this to be implemented successfully, even within a year's time. For example, at the district level, curriculum schedules, sequences, and assessment planning would have to be changed. We have gone to great lengths as a district to implement curriculum maps and pacing. How will those changes be planned? What will a timeline look like to make sure teachers are ready to implement those changes when we do shift, if we do? What about special education? When will IEP meetings need to be adjusted to fit a 4-day schedule? Will new IEP meetings need to be held at the end of next school year to adjust for those minutes? Will they have to be held at the beginning of the following year? What will that look like, and how will that be addressed? How will this impact at-risk students in terms of their success and retention? Is there research that indicates this is beneficial for our most at-risk populations, like SPED and low socioeconomic students? Are there models in other places that have worked? How many ELL families responded to the survey? How are those needs being addressed? In general, where will the students go on Fridays if their parents are at work? What sort of community agencies participated and responded to the survey? What are their thoughts? Will students have a safe, affordable place to go on Friday if school is not in session? What conversations have taken place with community agencies in regards to their capacity and availability? Were people from these agencies represented on the committee? This is a huge undertaking and one that I don't believe the district can do on its own. In fact, it is one the district shouldn't do on its own. Please consider how we are going to move forward with this model in a way that involves community partners and ensures the safety of our most at-risk students. Miranda Davis, parent. I would prefer a 4-day week for my children. Caleb Nelson, a student. No to the 4-day weeks unless you can figure out how to do 4 days and not shorten our summer breaks. Most around here have a parent that works shift work or a rotation and don't have normal schedules. We have less time to vacation, and shortening summer break again isn't fair to students or families. Lars Nandrup, parent. I like option 1. It gives students the flexibility of the 4-day school week while staff would still be available most Fridays. Sounds responsible and logical. Jay Bay, parent. For the alternative schedule task force, I would like to say with the current stay with the current schedule. It doesn't seem that it would benefit students, teachers, and parents. Heather Hardy Souther, parent, itinerant staff. I worked at a school district in Colorado on 4-day weeks. Staff only had 1 Friday workday, professional development, per month. We still had 1 week off for Thanksgiving and spring break. Yes, our days were 7:30 to 4:30 and the kids 7:50 to 4 o'clock, but worked well and most liked the 3-day weekends. I understand the arguments for all sides, but family time is important and that extra day does make a difference. Braddock Powell, student. I am a student at Rock Springs Junior High School. I think that a 4-day school week, option 2, would be beneficial for teachers to plan, and it would help relieve some stress that some students may have. Thank you.
Madam Chair, just going to point out at 6 o'clock. So if we want to convene the board meeting and then suspend it and go back to public comment, just seeing what your thought is.
The other option would be to extend this meeting, continue with the public comment, and then adjourn and reconvene. So what is the pleasure of the trustees? Anyone?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Hay?
I think we should continue hearing public comment just to be fair with the way this whole coronavirus is affecting, responses. So I would like to make a motion to come out of public comment and start the other meeting, but then, like you said, come back in and hear what the comments are.
Is there a second?
Madam Chair, I'll second.
Okay, second is Mr. Mickelson. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, nay. The motion passes. So we will stop here and adjourn the public hearing at 6:04 and take a moment and reconvene with the regular meeting. Okay.
Are we on the same link for our viewers?
Okay, we're on the same. Okay. Okay, we're going to need to adjust the communication and correspondence part. So we're going to have to move 6 up here so that we have the action on this after we complete the communication.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So you'll need a motion to amend that.
Okay, so yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So is everybody okay? All right. Are we still good? Okay. It is 6:05, so I'm calling the special board meeting for Sweetwater County School District Number 1 in session. If you would please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mrs. West, could we have the roll call, please?
Certainly. Mr. Botello?
Here.
Mr. Reedy? Mr. Reedy?
Here.
Mr. Mickelson?
Here.
Mr. Hay?
Here.
Mrs. Thompson?
Here.
Mr. Jackman?
Here.
Chairman Jellicoe?
Here. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? First of all, we're going to need to move item number 6, the communications and correspondence or public comment. We're going to have to move that to immediately prior to the approval. So we're going to switch item number 6 with item number 5. So I entertain a motion to approve the agenda with that change.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Mr. Jackman has made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll
Second.
second.
Seconded by Mrs. Thompson. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. We do have an addendum, so I would entertain a motion to approve the addendum.
So moved.
It's been moved by Mr. Jackman. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Hay has seconded the motion for the addendum. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The motion passes. So at this point, we will continue with the communication and correspondence part of the meeting. Go ahead.
Sure. Right. Just so everybody's aware, we're in the same spot. Braddock Powell is our previous statement, a student. Our next statement is Megan Jex, a parent. I feel like this is extremely poor timing, but very convenient for those pushing this to make such a big decision when we can not even have open public meetings. We all saw and heard the arguments made last time, yet I haven't seen any solutions to those problems. Obviously, the school district is going to get what they want because a full 5-day schedule isn't even an option anymore. Clearly, public opinion is not even a deciding factor in this, but thanks for pretending. Bethany Gilson, a parent. The students in our district deserve better. How can this task for data be objective when the current schedule is not even an option? This is a schedule to accommodate teachers and staff. Students should be at the center of this conversation, not how adults can get more time off work. Pushing these issues during a pandemic also shows that the district is more invested in their agenda and not students. Anika Smith, a parent. Option 1 or 2 will be very helpful to give students who are involved in sports or activities time to get caught up on schoolwork that they may have missed because of participation in activities that require them to be missing during valuable class time. Often the activities occur on Fridays and the students must miss the classroom instruction in time to complete the work. If Fridays were to be utilized as a day off, it may help students involved in activities keep their grades up because they would be present 100% of the classroom teaching time and not fall behind. Casey Callahan, at Sweetwater District 1 staff. My choice is option 3. Sam Catton, a parent. I strongly disagree with any 4-day school option. It puts an incredible burden on scholars, parents, and caregivers, especially for families with 3 or more kids in the school system. Kilji Jenkins, parent and staff. I am all for option number 2. Lindsay Harmon, parent of 5. We absolutely support the 4-day school week. Thank you for considering it again. We know that it is most beneficial for our children. Louise Bennett, community member. There's been a lot of hard work done by the junior high and high school in the last few years to change and modify their schedules. The junior high moved to the block schedule 2 years ago. The high school made major changes last year with their 8 periods in block schedule. These changes have helped these schools find time to use PLCs effectively and allow teachers to prepare great lessons and collaborate. This alternative schedule should not be forced on everyone. There should be a 4th option, not change anything. If the secondary level can figure it out, then so should the elementary level. There does not need to be a one-size-fits-all. The changes that the secondary level have made should be allowed to play out for some more time to see if it is effective. This feels very forced and does not seem to be in everyone's best interest. Just some who seem to be determined to force it on everyone else. With the current times, no changes should be made until we see how things are going to play out and what our new normal is going to be. Amy Crowell, a parent. Is it true that with the 2 4-day schooling options proposed, our children's students would not be getting out of school till mid to late June, as opposed to the 5-day option with them getting out of school earlier than that? Heather Robinson, a parent. I am pro the 4-day school week, as I was last time. I believe that with it coming to the public and board again, it means that teachers and school administrators believe we need to change from the regular 5-day school week. Kids and parents get burned out, so I know teachers do too. I don't know how much public feedback is taken into consideration, but it would be my suggestion the 4-day school week is Monday through Thursday with Friday off each week. It would also be my suggestion that unlike last time this was voted on, the time spent in the classroom is increased slightly each of the 4 days to make up for time lost on the day off. If this really does not work well, in a few years it can always be changed back to the traditional 5-day week. Thank you. Lindsay Harmon, parent of 5-day student week. We've already heard from. We absolutely support the 4-day school week. Thank you for considering it again. Mandy Liu, a parent. I think that 4-day school week would be wonderful for the students and teachers. I know for my girls, it would be definitely relieve some stress and give much needed downtime during a busy school year. Cynthia Lara, a parent. I favor a 4-day school. Sandy Linlinger, I'm sorry if I slaughter your name. Parents, Sweetwater District 1 staff. I'm in favor of a 4-day week. I believe it would give teachers the time they need to collaborate and prepare students. This would then benefit each of our students greatly. Keely Jensen, a parent. I am all for the 4-day school week. Amelia Slater, a parent. I support the 4-day school week. I think it will be a welcome change for our students who are involved in activities in school and out of school and allow them not to miss any classes. With the new attendance policy, it will allow for doctor visits and appointments without attendance issues. I think it is a great idea and hope it is implemented. Andrew Hubert, a parent. A 4-day schedule will be great for our kids. They have had positive results in Farson and in the Bridger Valley. Ryan Johnson, a parent. I fully support the district with what they feel is best for my children. This is what they are paid to do. I don't appreciate people trying to tell me how to do my job when in fact they have no idea how to do my job. I appreciate the board's participation on these committees as I know they weren't involved last time. The teachers in district over the last month have went above and beyond what they have had to do for our kids. I feel like it's time to trust them and give them this shot. Madam Chair.
Allison, excuse me, Allison Arentz, parent. Our family would like to see option 1 implemented. Mary Johnson, a parent. It's time to trust the school district to do what they are paid to do. I have no doubt they are trying to do what is best for my children. In what other profession do they have to get public feedback for a change in schedule? The school district does this to respect the community needs of Sweetwater 1. It would be nice if we could give them the same respect. Change is hard, and I sympathize with parents who will have to find childcare on whatever day the kids are home. But I also know that the district will help facilitate options for that day off. I know that the process this time had community members, student, teachers, administrators, and board members involved. What else can you ask for? You need to listen to the majority, not the few that are going to throw a fit again. And I worry about the comment part of this. I know a lot of people filled out the survey and won't do this part. It doesn't mean that there aren't people who are fully in favor of the proposed new schedule. Look at the survey results. Beverly Cox, a parent. Since my daughter has been home, I have seen that it is not taking her a full day to complete her assignments. Being at school 5 days per week has no benefit to her. She is also in sports and speech and debate and has to miss most Fridays during the school year. It would benefit students and teachers to have a 4-day school week. It would also cut the cost of busing and hourly staff to have a 4-day school week. Chad Smith, parent. Wrong time to handle this. Whether we like it or not, school is also a form of childcare. I personally don't have young children that would be affected, but I do have a child that would face later school sports practice times because of this change. For the parents of younger children, the added cost of all-day childcare during a 4-day week may be insurmountable. You need to have an in-person public forum for comments. Kendra Scott, parent and staff. In great support of a 4-day week with staff working every other week. We need a change. It will allow for more time for preparation and increased quality of instruction. Amy Kendall, student. I think the 4-day is a great change. I have a friend in a different state that absolutely loves it. The kids won't miss much school for sports or just to get out for an extra day. Bernie Kessler, staff. I would like to share how excited I am as a teacher to see that there is a possibility of having a different schedule for 2022-2023. I feel that we are definitely heading in the right direction by considering this alternative calendar proposal. After spending time to read and research about alternative schedules, it is obvious that we need to make a change, not only to help meet the needs of students, but also to meet the needs of staff. Looking for ways to better help students, whether it be with more time for homework, extracurricular activities, extra hours of sleep, preparing for college, etc. This proposal permits ways to suffice some of these needs. With the inability to hire quality teachers and losing more quality teachers every year, we must look at some types of perks to retain teachers. This proposal also provides a small perk to attract and retain teachers. After coming to the conclusion that there are many more pros than cons to this proposal, it is very clear to me that we need to make a change sooner rather than later. My sincere hope is for the board to consider this proposal and vote in favor of it. My other hope is that anyone who is nay-saying would actually take the time to sit down and read the research, talk with students, talk with staff members, visit with a committee member, etc., in order to make an educated decision. Brandy Fields, a parent. The options provided to parents for review and comment do not offer solutions to the problems mentioned. The survey required that you rate the options 1 to 3, with 3 being worst. This survey falsifies the results due to the way that it was created and making the participants feel they have to rate 1 to 3 instead of giving all 3s if they don't agree with any. To be honest, I felt that all 3 options were in favor of school district staff taking more time off and not necessarily using that time for preparation and training. Why does school district staff need to train during my children's learning time? School staff are off during the summer. Why can this time not be utilized for advanced training and preparation for the coming school year? I do not feel that the children and parents should sacrifice in many different ways while the school staff get more time away from the classroom. Out of all three options, the majority were in favor of school staff taking at minimum 1 to 2 full days off per month, not in training. It can be worded different. It can be worded, however, sounds best to convince parents it's in their children's best interest. But at the end of the day, the options seem in favor of school staff vacation time more than training and preparation for the students. Offer real options and you may convince parents to get on board.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Joe Morgan, a parent. Even though the presentation was well done, a number of questions need to be answered and concerns addressed before I would feel comfortable supporting any 4-day schedule. How would current planning time be used for a 4-day school week? Would it be used for PLC and further professional development, or would teachers be given back this time to grade and plan on their own? Many already feel stressed, overworked, and have a little time outside of school hours. If any time outside of Fridays could be used for PLC or professional development, I do not feel this would be an effective use of time. What hours would the typical school day look like? Would start times begin earlier and dismissal times be later? If so, what times have been discussed? Why was this not presented in the PowerPoint presentation? It's hard to make an educated decision without all the facts. How would this affect extracurricular activities and practice times? What would the school calendar look like? Would school start earlier in August and end in late June? Will staff hours go up or stay the same? Actual hours worked. Will the professional development programs that staff is expected to undertake continue the following years, or will it drop the next year as many have before? Finally, Sweetwater District 1 had a free and reduced lunch percentage of 37.1 the previous school year. With the downturn in the economy, that is expected to rise. Children raised in low-income environments are those that are at greater risk than others. Meals are not always a certainty for these children. Low-income families may not have the resources for childcare every Friday. Have studies been completed to determine how these at-risk students and families would be affected by this? Is the district willing to provide meals for these children each Friday? I taught in the district for a number of years, and one question that was asked frequently by administrators, are we doing what's best for students? With the first two presented options, I can't honestly say that's the case. Not enough facts and information were presented in this PowerPoint. This appears to be a continued push from select administrators attempting to do what's best for the district and not students. Saying that, option 3 appears to be the only viable option. Oh,
Go
I'm
ahead.
good. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Mallory Gardner, a parent. I realize that the details have not been worked out as to what days off are on the 4-day weeks and also the early outs. However, this factors into my final decision greatly. I do not send my children to school to be babysat, but the day of the week that is off or early out would very much affect our family dynamic and childcare. I also understand that times change, but when I was in school for 5 days a week from 8:15 to 3:30 with weekends off, we were very stressful as a whole. Our test scores were high, our teachers cared, and we were happy. I also know what I was doing on 2-day weekends when in high school, and I know that I could have gotten into even more trouble having 3 days off. We had to be held accountable, keep grades up, go to school, and not skip practices. There weren't many times where any of that was excused, and even if you were the star player and or starter, you didn't get to play. Our graduation rates were high, and dropping out or having alternative school was just not an option. 7 periods, 5 days a week made it so everything was still fresh in our minds and kept our attention for the 50-minute class periods. I'm a successful MRI tech that has 4 years of college and a lot of on-the-job training, but I also can't see myself sitting in class much longer than 50 minutes without losing interest. With the way our children are being raised and entitled, there is absolutely no way this community could come to an agreement. But I think that an informed decision cannot be made until we have a lot more details. I more than hope and pray that this is not going to be the final decision this week. There is no way to make an educated decision at this point. Beverly Cox, a parent. Since my daughter has been home and I have seen that it is taking her a full day to complete her assignments, being at school 5 days per week has no benefit to her. She is also in sports and speech and debate and has to miss most Fridays during the school year. It would benefit students and teachers to have a 4-day school week. It would also cut the costs of busing and hourly staff to have a 4-day school week. Matt Kessler, a community member. I like the 4-day school week that has teachers taking every other Friday off. I believe it will give teachers more time to review student work and prepare lesson plans on school time instead of their own time. This will make a better family life for the teachers and would be incentive to keep in higher quality teachers. Chad Smith, parent. Wrong time to handle this. Whether we like it or not, school is also a form of childcare. I personally don't have young children that would be affected, but I do have a child that would face later school sports practice times because of this change. For the parents of younger children, the added cost of all-day childcare during a 4-day week may be insurmountable. You need to have an in-person public forum for comments. Madam Chair, if you're ready.
Natalie Powell, parent. I love the idea of a 4-day school week. The one major concern I have is that the proposed schedule has them in school for almost 8 hours. Extra recess time must be built in for the K-6 graders if we go this route. As it is now, recess times seem to shrink every year. A few minutes here and there add up, especially when their recess is practicing lining up because the para on duty doesn't feel they are quiet enough. This happens a lot. There is research-based evidence supporting the benefits of recess, and I hope this is taken into consideration when building schedules. I would love for teachers to have time for PD and PLCs and for them to be in the classroom more. I would also love a day to be with my children to allow them more learning opportunities outside of the classroom. Thanks for all the time this committee has put in. Jenny Curtis, parent. I support a 4-day school week. I will have 2 kids in high school playing sports as I did in high school, and 4 days would be helpful for game weekends. Heather Lusmore, parent. Why are we looking to change the schedule? Why not continue on with the schedule we already have? It is working and kids are doing well. Why disrupt that? Kids do better with a schedule and they are used to the one we have in place now. Teresa Edwards, staff. If I knew without a doubt that the days without students would be used for all professional development, meetings that require us to be away from our students, or really anything that requires us to be away from our buildings and students, I say that I absolutely am on board with option number 2. It has always been very frustrating having to be away from the kids for meetings, especially meetings that aren't even pertaining to our jobs. When the students assume that I forgot to get them because I was gone, they don't even want to hear about the reasons. They are just disappointed, which is totally understandable. If possible, I would even like to have IEPs take place on those days, totally protecting student time with their teacher, counselor, related service provider, or what have you. There are already events that pull us away from the kids that are beyond our control. Mandatory meetings at the courthouse, DFS child protection meetings, getting sick, using our personal time, etc. Just my 2 cents. Amy Yenny, parent, would love to have a 4-day week. I think having Fridays off would be the best. There are a lot of students that miss Fridays for sports and other activities. I also think that it would be great for the teachers to have a day each week to work and prepare. Brandy Clemens, parent. A 4-day week would be truly beneficial to all students and staff. If daycare is an issue, it is an option to have the high school student council and the school district to get a plan to help assist with daycare. Green River has a great program at their high school if needing an example. Amanda Stafford, a parent. I agree with the 4-day week. Jennifer Berg, parent and a business owner. The benefit of a 4-day school week would outweigh the negative effects of losing an extra day. I feel the public really needs to be aware of the absences of students, coaches, sponsors throughout the year on Fridays. The overage of hours that students do attend each year, the ability to do full days of professional development and planning without the disruption of classroom time, the pulling of teachers to attend meetings, etc. The options for students on Friday to attend school of failing or needing extra help, lunches, breakfasts, provided options. I really feel the platform that is presented to the community needs beefed up with members of the task force, those not associated with the district, to give opinions on the 4-day week and the reasons why. As a business owner, businesses adapt to all different situations. We will adapt to what we need to continue doing business. As a parent, my children do not go to public school for daycare. They are for an education. Therefore, I am responsible for providing childcare services when school is not in session. I do appreciate the time given and spent on trying to determine a schedule that would benefit our children. Now, if only we had some choices when it came to schools, like schools of choice. Totally off subject. Thanks again for your dedication to our kids. Jasmine Kruger, teacher. It is my opinion that the alternative schedule is a good option for teachers and students. Any of the 3 proposed alternative schedules would allow teachers more prep and PLC time with their departments. As a transplant teacher who moved states for this job, I think that having a schedule like this would retain more teachers and attract more high-quality out-of-state applicants. Thank you. Amber Fagel, parent. I am for option 3. I am not convinced the 4-day school week would work. Michael Dugan, staff. As an educator of nearly a decade, I fully support either plan A or B for the schedule change. Doing so would carry many benefits for our students, including allowing teachers to collaborate and improve the quality of the instruction we provide, and give more rest for students, which is thought to help student achievement. The schedule would also help attract and retain quality educators, providing consistency to their students. It will also benefit our high population of student athletes who usually miss a day each week and allow them to experience their sport and competition to a better degree, while allowing their coaches to provide this experience without affecting their students who are not athletes. Mark Cholak, SEA President. This is my last appearance before this board as president of SEA. I want to thank the board for their hard work and support of students and teachers over the past 2 years. There have been many positive changes that have come to the district over that time period because of what you do. Thank you. I also want to thank the district administration, especially Superintendent McGovern and Assistant Superintendent Bolton, for their efforts in keeping our district on track and moving forward. While we have had some disagreements over the past 2 years, we were also able to come together and solve several issues within the district due to their willingness to listen to concerns and collaborate on solutions. In my mind, 2 major undertakings by this administration that deserve recognition are the creation of the Standard Response Protocol and the current efforts to continue teaching our kids during the COVID-19 lockdown. Both were big, long-term projects that have required adjustments along the way, but were executed with skill and professionalism. I also want to support my executive staff for their support over the last 2 years. It has been an honor to serve as your president. I intend to stay active in SEA in whatever capacity I can because it is a cause I deeply believe in. One last point of unfinished business I would like to leave the board with. Over a year ago, a proposal to conduct an independent, anonymous, outside climate survey was considered by this board that was later tabled. It is my belief that such a climate survey is the only way to really address any staff issues that may be bubbling under the surface. Such a survey, if presented as a diagnostic tool, would benefit the administration and the board in identifying what issues exist, where issues may develop, and in strategizing how to get ahead of issues before they become too large to address. Thanks again for all you do. Mark Cholak, SEA President.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Michelle Scher, a parent. I feel that the student would benefit from 4 days a week schedule because the teachers will have more time to learn and prepare new ways to teach the lessons. Bri Mazharian, option 3. Andrew Mazharian, a parent, both parents, also option 3. Melinda Gilly, a parent. As stated on the website, the mission of Sweetwater District 1 is to provide a quality education for all students, accomplished by making students our first priority. According to the presentation by Superintendent McGovern and HR Director Bolton, this alternative schedule task force was created to look at an alternative schedule with the purpose of increasing student achievement. I hope we can all agree that the pinnacle of any changes of this magnitude should always be what is best for the students. According to the presentation, the board asked the committee to come up with schedules that adjust how the instructional day look, how many instructional days and/or hours are provided, and how teacher contract days are utilized. In the presentation, it was expressed that none of these tasks are being recommended at this time, that all these important facts will be handled by a different committee, the calendar committee, sometime in the future. How many hours will the students be attending each day? When will the school day start? How does the instructional day look? How will the teacher contract days be utilized? All of these tasks were supposed to be presented with the task force committee. Furthermore, when this idea was presented last year, many problems with the schedule were voiced, and none of these issues are being resolved by, again, suggesting the schedule. The 4-day school week was just repackaged in the same wrapping, delivered for approval. Research that was provided to this group, also made available to the public yesterday, includes an article titled Effects of 4-Day School Weeks on Achievement, in which the author states, I generally find that student achievement declines following the switch to a 4-day school week, as math test scores fall by around 1/10 of a standard deviation, and fewer students are likely to meet proficiency targets. Looking at differential effects across student groups, minority, low-income, and special education students seem to be the most affected by these policies, possibly exacerbating pre-existing achievement gaps in these districts. The event study results suggest, however, that these effects are largely transitory, and by 4 years after the policy is introduced, the average student is scoring at the same level they were prior to the policy. I fail to see how this data can be overlooked and that this committee would continue to present 4-day school week when data is showing that it widens the gap between pre-existing achievements and our already suffering district. One of the issues that this type of schedule is attempting to mitigate is hiring qualified staff within the district. Nowhere in the presentation is information included that would suggest that a 4-day week will remedy this issue. Teacher shortage is a nationwide problem. Every single state is experiencing a shortage. However, data has not been presented that the specific change in schedule will produce more qualified candidates. Wholesale changing the school schedule at the expense of our children is not going to fix a nationwide problem. I attended the meeting in February when this task force presented to the board. At that meeting, a presentation was given to the school board members and the floor was open to public comment. During the presentation, it was said that the task committee was in the process of looking at multiple different schedules. It was also said there would be numerous more meetings for public comment. Since that is not possible now due to circumstances, I would like to take this time to share my thoughts. At this time last year, when this 4-day calendar was being discussed, I took the opportunity to call and talk to Superintendent in Sheridan, Wyoming. He is very receptive to share changes that have been made within the district to increase their student achievement. Since they have adopted their education plan, they have increased scores across the board and now are #1 in the state for all metrics. Superintendent Graff stated that each teacher has 10 planning hours a week built into the schedule. He also stated that he thought it would not be beneficial for our district to move to a 4-day week in order to successfully utilize the PLC model. Each of the teacher groups must meet each week to assess the needs of the students. Sheridan does, however, have an early out option on Fridays. Students must meet grade criteria in order to qualify for early release. Another alternate schedule that I found is for Teton County, a school district that is consistently at the top of the state in academic testing. This schedule is a drop schedule based on 7 core classes and a daily flex class. The students attend 5 periods a day plus the flex period. The biggest positive of this schedule is the fact that school begins at 8:54. This later start time is a crucial change that is taking place nationwide because of quantifiable effects on student achievement. This one change is so profound that multiple states have mandated that no school is allowed to begin before 8:30. If student achievement is our #1 priority, this one change should be considered heavily. As ever, our focus should be on student achievement. As a parent community member, I want what is best for our students and community. We all see that a change should be made. However, I hope that the board will strongly consider options that have been proven to be beneficial for the students. I am very disheartened that a decision of this magnitude that had an outpouring of public support on both sides last year is being presented and pushed through during a time when we cannot publicly discuss our ideas and our hesitations. I understand that a schedule must be submitted to the state on May 1st, 2020, as discussed in the February meeting. However, I feel that the constituents of this district are not getting a fair opportunity to voice their concerns on an issue that will have far-reaching consequences. Thank you for your time and consideration. Stacy Jackson, a parent. I thought this was settled last year at the school board meeting. Not sure why it is being brought back up, except for the fact that Nicole Bolton did not get her way last year. This seems like a backdoor slide in tactics because people cannot go to board meeting and speak their minds in person. It seems like we as a community have a lot bigger and more pressing things to worry about. On the other hand, maybe we should just let the 4-day week happen and we'll be doing the same thing next year. Kristen Ryan, a parent. I believe that option 2 would be most beneficial for both students and staff. I have children with special needs and having 3 days off would give them a much needed break and time to prepare for the following week. Candy Raffini, parent and staff. I am still very concerned that the research does not support the 4-day week. I feel that citing that teachers make an impact is true and evidence-based. However, I do not feel that the 4-day week necessarily makes for better, happier teachers, nor do I see any connection to how that helps us recruit or retain better teachers. There is no direct correlation, and more importantly, I am concerned that longer days for students is not going to bring about better test scores. Lastly, this change impacts all layers of the community, including childcare issues, extracurricular activities, food services, and other social services. I'm not convinced that this is a solution to any of the targeted goals. Mallory Gardner, a parent. I have already provided feedback, but after sleeping on it and thinking about more things, I had some other points I needed to bring up. I have gone to eat lunch with my kids that barely have enough time to eat their lunch. Half of the time they are being hushed and cannot even talk about Minecraft or Barbies, something not school related. They can't burn off any of the overloads of school simply by interacting with classmates outside of the classroom. Lunch needs to be extended. A long lunch needs to be extended. Recess needs to be more frequent for longer periods. If the children were more active and again had more time just being kids, they could focus better in the classroom. With longer lunches and recesses, this would allow for more time for the teachers to do lesson plans inside of the school day so that they aren't having to extend their day as much beyond the final bell. The paras, teachers, and even parent volunteers could rotate through the extended recess and lunchtime. And lunch this way. It could be coordinated in lunchtime. This way it could be coordinated so that equal time is given to each teacher. Another issue I have is when we start and stop school in the year. Summer doesn't even come until early these days. or until July these days. Then kids sit in a hot classroom and they just want to be out playing. I don't know about you, but if I am hot, I am not going to be focusing in a muggy classroom. Camping and summer activities are cut short, which also takes its toll on our teachers. They deserve to have summer too. Also, what is the correlation with quality teachers and changing our school day? Is there documentation that you are more likely to recruit quality teachers based on these profound changes? And is this even a time to be concerned with this? Our lives are forever changed. We are trying to figure out new normal. Our children see and pick up on our stress, sadness, and frustration. As if everyone doesn't have enough to worry about, we are throwing this major life-changing proposal out there when we aren't even sure if we can pay next month's mortgage. Yes, this was brought up last year, but some things need to be tabled or put on the back burner. Who is this really benefiting? Our kids, teachers, or higher up faculty? Prove to us that this is necessary. Show us the research, the scores, the actual information to back any of this up. Madam Chair.
Olivia Ituro, parent, I vote for option 2, 4 days a week should be implemented. Amanda Dussel, parent, I believe the 4-day school week would be extremely beneficial to our children and our staff. Our parents, our teachers, bus drivers, kitchen aides are not our babysitters. They are here to help teach our children, not do our jobs as parents. Our staff wouldn't be so burnt out, and neither would our children. Please consider doing the 4-day week. Jessica Stevens, staff. To clarify for the public, what effect will the board decision on the recommendation by the Alternative Schedule Task Force have on the calendar committee next spring? Would a board vote against an alternative schedule result in only 5-day traditional options being presented for voting next year? Would a board vote for an alternative schedule option result in only alternative schedules being presented, or an alternative schedule option being presented with or against a traditional schedule option? Liz D. Bonacci, a parent, 4-day week for the year 2021, option 2. Cheryl Notman, SEA Vice President. These questions may not be able to be answered at this time, but they were brought forward by a few teachers, and I thought we should keep them in mind as we move forward. Will the alternative schedule increase teacher work hours? It seems if we are working longer hours during student attendance, then how many hours are we expected to work on every other Friday? Another concern that has been mentioned by my colleagues is whether or not the district will want to hold all IEP meetings on Fridays when only the teachers are present. Clark Stith, Wyoming House District 48. In considering a 4-day school week, did the working group consider the external costs of 1, a likely increase in juvenile property crimes as experienced in Colorado, and 2, additional child care costs borne by parents? Kennedy Fulmer, a student. As a freshman at Black Butte High School, I want to start by thanking the school board and the Alternative Schedule Task Force for exploring various different learning environments for our students. As a student with a learning disability, I often struggle to keep up and have enough time to finish assignments to the best of my ability. I am given various accommodations, but oftentimes those are not enough to assist me when I work on schoolwork and attempt to participate in extracurricular activities. With a 4-day week, the day off would give me time to catch up and use the day as a work day. The teachers at Black Butte High School are great at making sure we know how to contact them at any time. And I am sure this would be no different with a 4-day week, where we know we can still contact them on various Fridays. I am asking you to approve the recommendation for a 4-day week. Thank you for your time and consideration in this difficult decision. Cheryl O'Driscoll, parent. Thank you to the committee for all the time and effort put into this project. Not all people will be happy with the decision either way, but I do hope they keep in mind this is all an important part of helping our students get the best education possible. That concludes the public comments that were submitted up through 4 o'clock this afternoon. So we will proceed with item number 5.
Did you want me to answer any other questions from public comment, or did any of the board members have questions based off of the public comment?
And trustees, do you have any questions regarding any of the public comment or any questions that you would like to have answered? Hearing none. Okay, hearing none. Then let's move to item number 5 on the agenda. Okay, is there a motion to approve the alternate schedule for all in-town schools and Desert School? Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, for the purpose of discussion, I'd make a motion.
Okay, Mr. Mickelson has made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Reedy.
Mr. Reedy, second. Okay, discussion.
Yes.
Mr. Reedy?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
I have no discussion. I was just seconding.
Oh, okay.
Max's motion.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Discussion from the trustees. Any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Mickelson?
I have 5 things I'd like to comment on. The first, I was recently reminded that I need to check my Monday through Friday 8 to 5 schedule privilege. That in Sweetwater County, there are many people whose work schedules are all over the map. And we don't offer, as a district, educational opportunities to kids whose parents work swing shift, nor do we provide childcare services to them. And so if the decision around moving to a 4-day or staying on a traditional schedule is based on that childcare option, then we probably need for equity to expand that childcare to include those folks who work swing shift. The second point that's been brought to my attention is the mental health of students goes both ways. There are many kids who are overwhelmed by the Monday through Friday school week who would benefit from having that extra day to recover. The third is that we would have, as a district, a huge communication issue where, especially in these fiscal times, helping people understand that teachers are not actually getting a reduction in hours. It's a shift in educational instructional hours and preparation time, because when the legislature looks to the taxpayer to say provide more for schools, and 10,000 people from Sweetwater County say, but our teachers get every Friday off, that's a bad and inaccurate message. The fourth, the reality of some of this is that if we move to an alternative schedule, we just have to take a leap of faith that all of those components and pieces and details will be put in place. And I think if we look at how the adaptive learning plan was put in place, that our district has earned, or should in some respects demand, that leap of faith to be made, because they've earned it through that very complex and difficult process. My fifth point, however, is that if we do move to an alternative schedule, that my expectation as a board member would be for monthly reporting from our district on how those pieces are coming together. I would like to invite and have community partner agencies come to board meetings to talk about what they're doing and how the district is working with them, and to get those details. Because if the district does everything that it can do to make this successful, and the community doesn't step up, then we're going to really struggle to be successful. And the board at that point might have to look at a return to or a reversion to a traditional schedule. And so I think it would be incumbent on the board, were we to move to an alternative schedule, to expect and take the reports on how those pieces are coming together. Thank you, Madam Chair. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Mickelson. Other comments from the trustees?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Mr. Jackman?
Thank you. This was a process we started back in November before any of us knew COVID was a thing. We kind of set April 28th as the date that we were going to make our final decision before COVID, before anything happened. So I understand where the public can look at us and say, oh, you're doing this and trying to shove it down our throats when we can't meet. That's not the case, but I'm in the same position I was a year ago where I'm opposed to this. I think recruiting teachers is really important, but I don't see the benefits to our students, which is a number one, it always has to be my number one. And I feel for you, Ms. Bolton. I know how hard it is to recruit teachers, but, and I know you're not pushing this. I know you're the brunt of the job and where this would be helpful, but I don't see the benefit for our students.
Further comments from the trustees?
Madam Chair.
Mrs. Thompson.
For me, it's the timing. As Mr. Jackman had pointed out, we set this process way back in November. And yet, here we are in a global pandemic. But the concern I have, and Max kind of touched on this a little bit, is I guess it comes to a trust. Can the district be ready in a year? That's what it boils down to. Last time we voted on an alternative schedule, I felt that we could be ready at that time, and we had a much smaller time frame. So now I'm looking at what we had to accomplish as a district to address the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic and how quickly the district was able to implement that adapted learning plan when we are in not so pleasant circumstances. That should at least build trust in the community that if we can pull something like that off that is unexpected in a short period of time and start being successful, to me, that is something that builds trust. Now, that may not mean that everything goes and went smoothly. Of course, with technology, you have glitches. But as far as I'm aware, and with my own parenting technological issues, the tech team was quickly able to address any needs that my children had. And I haven't had any complaints about those problems being addressed. So it comes down to, for me, looking ahead down the future, I feel right now our district's kind of in I call it a survival mode, because we are trying to survive a situation that was placed in front of us. And I'm looking down the road for a year and seeing how we can accomplish meeting with all these different community organizations to get all the plans in place to get this off the ground if it were to pass. And it is concerning, but at the same time, if that is the intent of the district, I still look at what we've been able to accomplish in such a short time. And to me, I believe that we can do it. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mrs. Thompson. Further comments from the trustees?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Hay?
This is kind of weird for me because the first time we did this, there was more teacher involvement. And it's hard for me to see it go from 87% to 40%. And I guess if I was one of the employees, I would probably be the same way. They didn't listen to me the first time. Why are they going to listen to me a second time? I see benefits in the 4-day week here in Farson, but the option that we have up here is the kids go to school Monday through Thursday, and on Friday, if you've got bad grades, you're required to be at school on Friday. And that, we have teachers there at the school helping these kids all the time. It's not that Friday the kids are, if you have bad grades, you're going to be back at school. I don't know if that option is available with what you guys have looked at. And I know that you have a year to iron everything out, which I still think, and I will support the teachers in what they want to do. But I think there's going to be a lot of things that need to be looked at, even if it's just a 4.5 day. I still don't know that the 4-day is the correct answer for a district of this size at this time. I think that I would feel the same as the public does, that this just happened. Why are we doing it again? I mean, I had that feel when we brought this up to look at it again. I hope that we look out for the amount of work that the task force put in, and hope that it's beneficial for everyone in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hay. Anyone else with comments? I personally want to, I've spent a career in education. I am a 34-year veteran teacher, 32 years in this district. So it's very important to me. Students have always been at the top of my agenda. I always have wanted to do what's best for students. And that is the only reason I've remained in education as long as I have. That's the reason I sit on this board. I want to thank the task force. Excuse me. I want to thank the task force for their work. They did exactly what we asked them to do, and that was to come up with an alternative schedule. Okay, when it comes to the details, they were not tasked with doing that. So, you know, I want to thank them for all the work that they have put in and for following through. When we started this process in November, no one could have ever understood the very serious situation we now find ourselves in, a very extraordinary situation. I understand those people who are concerned that this may not be good timing. I have to agree, it's not good timing. However, I mean, we know things are changing. We know there are people out there who family members have lost jobs. They've been laid off, or their hours have been reduced. So I worry about the stress on families. The lunch program we've served over the last few days is up 50% over what we normally serve during school. So those things are all complicating factors. I also worry about what funding kind of things are coming forward. I worry that the message of the perception of reducing the work time of our teachers, what that would look like to legislators who control our purse strings. Recalibration is going to go on this year. And would they look at a reduced schedule as perhaps a reason to try to reduce funding? So I worry about that. I do like the idea of keeping teachers in the classroom. That's something that I have asked about numerous times, is what can we do to keep teachers in the classroom? So this proposal does help meet those requirements. I guess the devil is in the details. And so my question is, as many of the comments alluded to, what are the details? And we did not ask the task force to do that. That's what the interim year was designed to do, is those details. And so I worry, I wonder what those details would look like. And at the same time, the only way to find out what those details look like is to move this forward. So this is a very difficult decision for me. I very much understand where many of the community members stand. I have some of the very same concerns. Am I concerned? Absolutely. I'm very much concerned. But whatever this board decides, that is what we will move forward with. So, any further comments from the board? Okay, there is a motion to approve the alternative schedule for all in-town schools and Desert School, Wamsutter, for the 2021, 22, and 22-23 school years. There is a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'm going to ask Mrs. West to do a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Patolo,
No.
Mr. Reedy,
Yes.
Mr. Mickelson,
Aye.
Mrs. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Hay,
Yes.
Mr. Jackman,
Nay.
Chairman Jellicoe,
No. The vote is 4-3. The motion passes. So we will be looking at a alternative schedule in the next year. I understood Mr. Mickelson to request, and I am going to also request monthly updates on the progress being made towards those, towards the following year. Any other comments? Okay, then let's move to item number 7. General Board Business. Emergency approval of revision to policy IKF, the graduation requirements. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd make the motion to approve.
Okay, Mr. Mickelson has moved the approval. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Jackman has seconded. All in favor, please say, is there any discussion? Let me put it that way first. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Batolo?
can you ask Ms. McGovern to talk us through what the ramifications of this actually are? I've read that, but I think there might be some more information she may be able to give us.
Superintendent McGovern?
Sure, Madam Chair and members of the board. What you have before you is a recommendation for an emergency approval for the graduation requirements. District policy EFC allows the Board of Education in the case of an emergency. And the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic is an emergency that could possibly be affecting the students and potential graduates in Sweetwater County #1. So to walk you through what we are asking for is approval for this school year for 2019-2020 that would also extend through summer school. That would occur from June 1st through June 26th. This would allow a maximum opportunity for students that could be affected by COVID within the dynamics of their home. It could be that they are an essential worker. It could be any dynamic that could adjust what a student would normally receive in a brick and mortar school building. So in particular, what we're asking for is for Rock Springs High School, Black Butte High School, their normal graduation requirements are 24 credits. We would also like to ask for Farson Eden to have that opportunity for 24 credits. They normally have the requirement of 28 for Farson Eden. So in this case, they could have 28 or 24. For Rock Springs High School and Black Butte, we are asking permission for this year through the summer to continue with the 24 credits for Rock Springs High School, and then also for the general diploma that was currently in policy, that it requires 18 credits. So we are asking that the 18 credit diploma be an option for any senior at Rock Springs High School or Black Butte High School. Leading up to asking the board for permission for this policy on emergency approval, we have met with our 9 through 12 building administrators to discuss in detail what these options could mean and would they be beneficial for the students for this year that are affected by this situation. By offering those, we believe that it would provide the maximum opportunity for our students to meet the needs and earn a diploma in this situation. On the general diploma, one other detail, there currently lists a half credit for personal finance. We are asking permission from the board to do either that half credit or an equivalent at the discretion of the building principal so that they could have flexibility to work with their counselors, their families, the student. And then also for the elective credits, there is currently a requirement for 2 credits to be concentrated in one area. And we're also asking for flexibility for the equivalent at the discretion of the principal. So in the case of the 18 credit diploma, we are not asking to lower those expectations by any means, but rather retool those to allow flexibility for our students in this time.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Further discussion?
Madam Chair, I do have one question for Kelly.
Mr. Jackman.
Superintendent McGovern, will this affect students potentially getting the Hathaway negatively by any chance?
Thank you for that question, Mr. Jackman. Actually, we have been given flexibility through the Wyoming Department of Education. There was a memo that came out, I believe, April 13th that talked about the Hathaway and that our students, it would not affect their Hathaway as long as they were currently enrolled in those courses to meet the success curriculum. That's for the 24 credit and then also for the 28 credit. On the general diploma, what was currently in the policy, I would like to point this out to the board before any vote is taken. In the general diploma for 18 credits, it previously and still currently says, students who choose the general diploma option may not qualify for any level of Hathaway scholarship or other scholarship opportunities. So when this option is considered by families, everyone goes into that option knowing the Hathaway may be affected by the 18 credit diploma. Under COVID-19, our students will not be penalized under the 24 or 28 credit diploma.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing, is there discussion? Is there someone trying to get on? Apparently not. Hearing none. Okay. All in favor of emergency approval of the revision to policy IKF, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The motion passes. Item number 8 on the agenda, board information. 8A, policy GCBE, professional staff vacations and holidays. 8B, policy GDBD, support staff leaves and absences. 8C, policy GCBDA-R, personal leave. 8D, GDBE, support staff vacations and holidays. 8E, GDBE-R, vacation leave policy. Item number 9, personnel. I'd entertain a motion to approve the personnel recommendations.
Move to approve.
That was Mr. Hay.
Yes.
Mr. Hay has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Mickelson. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the personnel recommendations, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, nay. The motion passes. Okay, we also have an addendum. Is there a motion to approve the addendum?
So moved.
It's been moved by Mr. Jackman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Thompson. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the addendum, please say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Okay, any further comments before we adjourn?
Madam Chair, I do have one.
Mr. Jackman?
In your presentation, Nicole, you talked a lot about principals and their time. You don't have to answer. I was just hoping that we as a board could receive a presentation on what like a day in the life of a principal looks like. And then if they have any recommendations for us as a board to help them with their overload that they've been getting.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm just saying.
No, it's
when
okay.
the presentation happens, we might have some entertainment.
Well, that's fine. That's good. So,
Yeah. Okay.
all right,
That's
thank
good.
you.
Uh-huh.
Any further comments from the board? Then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Moved by Mr. Jackman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Thompson. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay.
Aye.
Aye. At 7:09, we are adjourned.